good morning, everyone. Happy Monday morning. So what I was just trying to set up there was I was trying to get my chat to float on top here because I'm using a laptop with a single monitor, with just the laptop's monitor itself. So I was trying to figure out a way to get the chat to float on top. This is what I got. I still have to move it around a little bit, but it's interesting to see if this works at all. Trying to get this sort of stuff to work on Mac is sometimes kind of difficult. But anyway, let's see if I can actually change this all this stuff as well. Probably not. Yeah, it's not gonna let me do that. Anyway, it's just interesting to be able to see how this works. So let's see if I'm. Oh yeah, look at that. Okay, we even get it transparent now. That's kind of exciting. So I'm not sure how this is going to work, but we're going to give it a try anyway. This is going to be a short one this morning, only about half an hour, because I've got appointments and things that I have to get to early again. This summer has just been really, really busy, and everything just keeps eating into my kind of regular schedule that I had in the winter. So such is life. It's good to have things to do, I guess. Okay, so with that parked down there, for looking rather confusing, which is great, and us back in the Unity Inspector here, let's go ahead and keep going. So what are we going to do today? This really weird looking thing are all of the purely 12th century parts of the 12th century or Norman church building overlaid on top of Roman material, on top of pre-conquest material, Mesolithic material, later medieval material. It's all a giant mishmash here. Look at that. It's really fun. It looks like it's a porch of some kind. It's not. These should actually be actual solid pieces of masonry along here. But right now this is what we've got. So I'm trying to get this Norman building, the apsidal, the curved end part. I'm trying to get this whole Norman part with all of its thatched roofs and everything. I'm trying to get that interactable in the game so that you can click on a thing and you can watch it rebuild. And I'm rebuilding it in a slightly different way. So of course I would be. So that's what we're working on right now. It's interesting with the scale to show you just how small that Roman temple mausoleum actually is. I might need to scale it a bit more even at some point, but it is really small. It's just meant to be a little tiny temple tomb. Pardon me. So I've been working on trying to get that to happen, trying to get this whole thing set up. So this is the problem in this game, is bringing in new content and setting it up is kind of rough. So right now we're just working on trying to get just the apps part here to load up. Not to load up, but to be rebuildable. So I've got the initial occupying objects here. So let's do this. There we go. All right. So I've got the this is the building here, and we don't really need to pay attention to most of the rest of this. But I've got the part that highlights when you hover over it, which you'll just be able to see. It's just these two little wall stubs here. And then the idea is the rest of the building is going to look like it's in construction. And the only way really to show that it's going to be in construction and not having been destroyed first is eventually I'm going to model some scaffolding, essentially, that's going to be in place around here as well, just to show you that stuff's going to go up. They wouldn't have had the scaffolding in place, so I've got to do all the planks and like carts and worksite materials and like stones on big pallets and things like that, the medieval equivalent. And then when you click on this, it'll all kind of rebuild and those things will fade away. So that's kind of where we're headed. we probably won't get there for a little while. So I have the initial starting object right here. That's all set up now, and had to modify it to be shader based and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, here it is. And now I'm working on the fractured part, which is this object. And to do that, I'm using the Roman octagonal temple as my template for that. So, I'm going to look at this one here. Well, yeah, I'm going to look at this one. It has a fragmented object behavior. So I'm trying to see all the different scripts I have to drop on this thing. So, yeah. So I'm trying to use that as a template to jog my memory on what to do next. So here's the fractured part. It's got its fractured shader. Let's see what we need to do now. So we can look at that fract if we want, or this one will be even better because it's a single object. So we know that it's in the time B layer, which means it's not going to show up. See, in the game view, it simply doesn't show up. It won't show up first. And it's got a fragmented object behavior, and I bet it's got a GUID on it. I gotta move the chat aside here. Well, come on, you. This is the joy of this. Yeah, chat, you go live over here for a minute. All right, fragmented object behaviors don't need GUIDs. I guess that's because they're overall, if you're gonna load these never get saved when you save the game, because they're purely there for effects and then they disappear when they're built. So all they need is the script itself. Oh, and it doesn't even need that. You know what? That's silly of me. Instead, that's right, I had adapted something else. So let's go look at this one. No. Let me see. Frags, there we go. There we go. Yeah, it needed a Rebel Builder script. That's what it needs. Okay, because this is something that I took from one area of the game and I'm adapting it to another. That's what's going on here. So it needs this script. Okay. There we go. Rebel Builder script. And it's single use, and it's shader based. But it didn't need any end positions. And did I need to fill out that date, or does that get populated dynamically? This is the problem. I need to write like a manual for myself. No, it's got a date. The date of this is 1068. It doesn't need to spawn because it's the only instance of it in the game. Its date is 1068. That's rather specific, I know. Its orientation can be east. And it will eventually have its own whole object behavior, which is going to be in here somewhere. So my big question is that all I need on that one? That is all I need. Cool. Okay. So this object here needs nope. Yeah. Oh, too many elements moving around at one time. There we go. Needs it right there. Okay. So that part is basically set up now. In fact, I think I can pre-populate it, which would be a nice thing to do. Yay, okay, that one's working now. All right, so now I need to follow up and create the whole object behavior, which is going to be this one. It's got the word whole behind it. So that one does need a GUID. And then it needs a whole object behavior. So it definitely needs to be off on start. Its fractured object, I believe, needs to be this one. I don't know if I need to actually fill that one out or not. I don't think I do need to get this one. I'm going to clear this one out. It's got no submodels, thank goodness. These will all get populated, these dates, I believe. It does need its own mesh renderer. There we go. Material doesn't need to fade on placement. It doesn't have any children. It is not going to be a cloned object. That one may be set. Just trying to think about what else do we need. Let's go look in the holes up here for the Norman, or for the Roman tomb. Roman, Norman, who knows? Yeah, it doesn't need its date set, because that's a finished one and it functions. Okay. So that one's ready to get populated. Yeah, okay, that one's worked. And then I needed to stick this one. Right there. All right, that one gets populated. Okay, I think I have that set up. So just walking through the workflow of this, I think, is that we start off with our object that gets highlighted when you mouse over it, which are these little tiny fragments here. They get highlighted. In this case, you click on it once, and that launches this object. This object comes into place, and it builds it up from the beginning. And when it's done building it up, going through that effect, it then swaps this object out for its whole object, which has far fewer verts in it, which is this object here now. So to the user, it'll just look like one process and not like a lot of different objects in place. But for us, it's at least 3 different objects running a kind of an orchestrated series of events. So I think that's all we need. All of this thatch actually needs some different objects placed on it. It's hard to remember what it is exactly, but we'll set this up. This is essentially going to be like any other roof. So all of this roof material is going to actually not have this flat shaded. It's going to have a dither based shader on it. So I'm going to go look at a roof that I've finished. So we'll jump into this. Finishing details, that's what we want. Let's go look at another roof. Nave Norman roof, although this one never seems to be coming on correctly. Okay, so it's furniture. So it needs a GUID, it needs its general object info script, which sets its dates. All that fun stuff. Needs its furniture behavior script. And there we go, the distance-based dither, which I wonder if I drop that material on it, if that's going to really change the way it works here. Let's find out. So let's look at our thatch here. Change the material. Yeah, and changes the shading on that. I need to come up with a dither-based shader that's also got normal reconstruction on it. Dither fade in, dither fade out. None of these are going to have that. Certainly that's not going to work. That's fine. So I've got okay, these objects here, they all don't have normals. The normals are being reconstructed in the shader. But the shader I've put on them now expects normals, so that's why I got a very unsatisfying change of material here. Yeah. So anyway, it's a thing to work on. Every time I bring in a new batch of items into the game, I always realize that I need to build some more things, but that's okay. Let's just kind of keep moving, and we'll think about that shader for a while here. I'll probably try to fix this tomorrow. Off screen. So we give this a start date and an end date. It goes up to 12:30. And I don't know, do I need to assign a user build date, or does that get assigned dynamically when it comes into play? Nope, I assign it. So it gets built, I can't even remember when, but I don't think I need to be specific about that. I can't remember when we're back. I think it's like 1070. Okay, it's got no children. This one doesn't need to be locked. That one's okay. It's the next one where some more dynamic stuff happens that we need to set up. It needs to be locked. It's not a grouped. It's not shader based. No, I don't think it is. Maybe, I don't know. What did I have set up here? It's group. Boy, that's all I needed to set up there. Interesting. Okay. I'm not even sure either of these scripts has a pre-populate part, but I thought I'd do it anyway. I need to find a way to indicate to myself whether it does need to run and be set up and pre-populate or not, but that's okay. Lots of little chores and tasks to do. Now what is absolutely needed is a controller object now. Like this is going to have a general object info, I think. Oh, that's the wrong date for sure. It is probably going to need to GUI it as well. Let's try to find the foundations here. There we go. What do the foundations have in them? Ooh, man, they get a tile ID and everything. General object behavior. That's all they need? Okay, good. It's good to always have one set up beforehand. All right. Now I'm thinking about what sequence in the game the user is going to run into this. Are they going to run into it when the rest of this part of the church is built? I think they are. I won't give them an artifact to get them there until they've built that Norman part of the church. So that means the rest of these objects will be visible already. But I need to assign these. So some of the objects that these belong to already exist in the game. So I need to assign these to their correct objects, to their correct pre-existing objects. It gets so complicated. All right. And then, of course, if we start the game, we're not going to see it, but if we time travel once, you'll see it all sitting where it's not supposed to. So I'm rushing. I basically have a month left until I get to the point where I've got some sort of playable demo, even if it's got lots of bugs, even if it's not looking as nice as I want it to. I want to have a demo out by the first week in August. It's important for me. And then once I get that out and then kind of polish off the corners a little bit, it will probably be time to step back and figure out ways to streamline this entire process so that setting up content in game doesn't become, a chore that takes longer than creating the content itself. So right now I have a whole bunch of interlocking, well, the problem is they lock up too much, but I have a whole bunch of kind of systems that all overlap with each other. And that means that it's hard for me to kind of keep track of what I want to do and when. So essentially I need to refactor the whole project. And I'm not going to do that just yet. But eventually it's got to happen someday. So I'm just thinking about ways in which I can make this all more efficient. Because so far we've been to the point where we're building it, we don't really know the shape of the project and what all is needed. I think we have a much better idea now. And so now I can start getting rid of some like overlapping redundant scripts like the tile ID script and all of that. I can start, because I'm abusing this one in a way that it wasn't originally intended, and kind of this one too. So it'll be good to kind of sort all these scripts out and streamline the whole system so that it's far easier to set up. Okay, but right now let's set up an area group. Let's set up the area group and then the stage manager. And I think we will only have one area and one stage in this one, which is cool. So we'll create an empty child. We'll call this go. Give it a proper name here. And the area managers, do they get a GUID? I bet they do, because they get saved and loaded. Yep. Where is that now? Here it is. Put that at the head of the pile. There we go. And now let's go look at the Roman one to see how we set that one. Oh, the Roman one's really complicated. Let's look at the Anglo-Saxon one. It's not locked. That's weird. I don't know why I did that. This one is a really complicated one as well. Alright, let's see if we can get through setting this one up. Okay, so it doesn't have any area managers to complete. We're not going to... Are we going to time travel? Yeah, we're going to time travel on its completion date. Why? What's the point of doing that? We don't need to time travel, so we'll leave that at 10,000, which means ignore. It's going to have one stage. And that one stage is going to have a whopping score of 1. I need to figure out that score system too. So far we don't have any revealed items. We don't have anything to lock or unlock on complete yet. It doesn't need an area configuration. It's just going to use its one stage. Now, this is actually a pretty simple area to set up. That's nice. Let's set up our stage manager now. I could make this one eventually more interactive for the player, but I'm kind of in a rush here now. Also, I kind of think it would be nice to step away from this for a little while and get a break. That's what it felt like this morning when I woke up. I should probably walk away from this for a little bit. But not until we get something playable. Now the stage manager itself gets locked. Okay. We think about all the different game objects that we want to have in this, which won't actually be all of these objects. It'll actually be mostly just the apps. Okay, well, let's start off with the basics. It is locked. It is going to be rebuildable between 1068 and we'll say 1075, something like that. It does complete the area. We're going to give it a name. Okay. Can't remember what that does, but that does something at some point. My local area manager gets assigned at runtime, as does its index. So its stage game objects are going to mainly be this guy. I think that's all I need because everything else is going to get run through it. It doesn't have any building blocks. No topsoil at this point to peel off. I think that's something I will need to put in later. No ox blocks. This relevant goes ends up being useless because I can never remember what this does. I have to go back and look at another one. What's it going to unlock on complete? I don't have that set up yet. And is framing distance. Oh, it will unlock that eventually. Cool. It's always a negative number. It's always around 40. Just looking for a framing point here. I don't think it lives there. Okay, so the one thing to unlock on complete is this guy. Just looking up here to see if the locks ends up getting built. It doesn't, thank goodness. Okay. Ah, the frame point right there. That's what we need. Which means I need to rotate this one, because this is going to do some double duty here. About there. That'll do. Okay. So that one's set up as well. All right, well, we've gotten most of the way through setup here. I'm just going to play the game. I did some changes over the weekend. I did quite a few changes, made quite a lot of progress on it, but it's in things that you wouldn't really notice. And it's in response to this getting kind of its very, very first ever playtesting by someone, not me. And it's really interesting to watch them blast right through the tutorial and not get any of it. And so I did a lot of things to actually stop the player and force them to go through the tutorial, which no one likes to hear, but is really fundamentally fine. So, and I think it has a kind of a nice progression feel to it. So let's see what happens here. It's going to turn into a mess very quickly, but first thing to notice about the tutorial is that I can't move the camera at all. I can't do any of that, which is forcing me essentially to kind of move my cursor around until I notice some change in the world. And as I move over these, I see they change color. So if I click on that, now stuff starts moving in the game, but it's still, I can't actually move the game around. But I notice again that I can start doing things. And at some point, I'm going to notice that I'm getting a little twinkle going on there. See, I can't even rebuild this now. I've really just locked it down, which is what I want. So, yeah, so the only other thing for me to do now is to click on this little guy. And I go, oh, look at that. There's things happening. And now, if I highlight over this once, see, it stays highlighted. That interface grows. I get a left and a right arrow, and that's it. Which means I can't do anything else, which is great. So if I press the left and the right arrow, once I do it twice, you see that part shrinks down, I still can't do anything else except choose the window I want. Eventually I'll notice I'll just try to click. I hope that's what the user will do. Once that happens, they see how that little bit of functionality works, and now I can rotate, but I still can't zoom in and out, which is really fun because as I'm rotating around, I notice that that guy is flashing. This gives me my tutorial telling me press the I key, dummy, so you can bring your tutorial back up. So that's fun. Now what happens is I'm bouncing around, I go, oh, look at that. Oh yeah, and then preview objects were not showing up in the game as well because of a shader issue, and I rebuilt my shader this weekend. So now you can see different objects, so that's cool. Okay, now that's been built. Am I able to zoom in? I'm still not able to zoom in and out because that's not where we're at in the game so far. But I can hear my computer really hating this. This looks awful because I have to do some geometry and shader fixes, but okay, now we've zoomed back there. We can see all sorts of stuff has started to happen. And yeah, that's bad. But now it's giving me my WASD keys. And so if I use my WASD keys, now I can drive around the scene. I still can't zoom in yet, but I can rotate and I can pan. And in just a second, I'm going to get my zoom keys. Da-da-da. And now I've got my full control of my game. So that was my upgraded tutorial. This is really funky. I kind of love it. It's obviously not what is supposed to be showing up, but still kind of fun. So anyway, there we are. So it's a little bit broken at this point, but also a little bit fixed in other points, and I really love it. So we'll leave it there today. So everyone, I've got to run because I've got all sorts of things I need to do this morning before I head off to wherever I'm going. So we'll leave it there at that, and we'll just say thank you very much for watching and putting up with this. I'm so glad I got my chat to float. That's really nice. The joys of doing this on a laptop because my main desktop machine has died. But anyway, so this went a little bit better, and hopefully I'll fix all of this up tonight, and we'll have something a little bit more usable by Wednesday morning. Anyway, I hope you have a great start to your week, and hope to see you on Wednesday morning if life doesn't intervene and have other ideas for us. All right, everybody, on that ominous note, have a great rest of your day.